Welcome home to St. Anne's. Please be seated. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
I hope you're shocked by that as I am. Otherwise, I have a whole lot to confess for. But it does. And when we come up on Lent, it can frequently be that time where we realize that our New Year's resolution didn't work out. And so we're like, I'm going to do it for Jesus. And maybe if I've God on my side, I'll lose that last 10 pounds. Or I'll actually work out every week. If you didn't do it for you at the beginning of the year, you ain't going to do it for Jesus for Lent either. I'm just going to tell you right now. So let's not even go into that place. But I think it is important to start to talk about Lent and what it really means for us to fast or to give things up or to take things on, whatever spiritual discipline we choose to do at this time, because it's murky, isn't it? We're not really quite sure what to do with it. And then you've got the whole, so you're busily trying to figure it out. You're like, I'm going to give up chocolate? I'm not. Don't kid yourself. That's funny. You wouldn't want to live with me. Short story though. When I was in college, I gave up coffee one year. Yeah. Eric literally said to me, never again. Yeah, it's miraculous that we're actually married because we were dating at the time. It wasn't pretty. So I won't do that to you, to me, to anyone in my aura. I promise you, it's not a good situation. But it gets murky and it gets confusing. Then some self-righteous preacher gets up and they're like, I'm going to tell you about it, and then I'm going to make you feel bad about what you said you were going to do. Because we're really good at that. There's nothing that makes us feel more joyous than self-righteous indignation. It's amazing. It's true. We're like, know that that's what it is, and you can totally call us out on it. You're like, yeah, stop. Okay. But really what this is about, and I think our passage is today, is about clarity. And that can be something that's really, really difficult to find in our religious faith and indeed in our life in general. Do you ever feel fuzzy? Yeah, right? So I literally, this is a confession. I wasn't going to tell anyone this, but I'm going to tell you guys because I love you all so much, and you can handle hearing this. I opened my prayer book, and my dad's flyer was in it. Yes! Oh my God, it was horrible. I'm in the visiting room, and I'm like putting my pages in, and it's there, and it just like falls out, and his face is staring at me. And I open it, and it's like, when we live in the hearts of those we love, we never die. That is not helpful when I'm getting ready for church in the morning. It is the opposite of what's helpful. So let's be real. We all need some clarity, right, in our lives? We're all trying to figure this stuff out. And there are moments when we're not sure what we're doing. And that sense of fuzziness that we're just living in this cloud. And what we look for in Lent is clarity. And that is the power of fast. Did you know that our presiding bishop has called us all to fast for Lent? And he's called us to fasting in the name of our nation. Because we're a mess. We are a mess. And I recommend that you go find and watch him talk about it because he's way more eloquent than I am. But he talks about we've lost our way. As a church, as a nation, we're a mess. And the comforting thing is, heads up, humans have always been a mess. Jesus wouldn't have showed up if we weren't. He would have had something better to do than get crucified. I mean, come on. But we have been called by our presiding bishop to fast for this next 48 days. And heads up, if you're not in a Lent, it's 40 days. But good news, if you actually count it out, you'll notice that it's not technically actually 40 days, and that's because Sundays don't count. Yeah. If you have a Roman Catholic background, you know about this loophole. But because I love you so much, I'm going to tell you about the loophole. There's a loophole built in. Every Sunday doesn't count because Sundays are always Easter celebrations. So, Sundays don't count. Yeah. So if you decide that you feel so called to give up coffee, don't, and that's a terrible idea. But if you do, Sundays don't count. Just so you know, there's a loophole. Look, we've been doing this Christianity thing for a really long time. We have so many loopholes, and I'm here for you, brothers and sisters, and I will tell you where the loopholes are, because I love you. But fasting is something that actually ancient traditions have always done in faith. And it's because, has anyone here ever fasted? It's okay if you have. Yeah, you're like, not by choice. But it's happened, right? I mean, you've gotten the stomach flu, right? We've all gotten norovirus. Yeah, don't tell. Yeah, we've all been there, right? And do you know that feeling when you've been sick for 2 days or 24 hours, whatever bug you get, but you haven't been eating because you've been so sick, and you realize when it's all over that day after, you have this incredible mental clarity. If you've ever done a fast, whether or not you chose to do it, you will probably have noticed that there's an intense sense of mental clarity. If you've ever done a cleanse, ew, don't do that, that's nasty. But if you do, you'll notice this intense sense of mental clarity. And here's the thing, ancient religions and faith traditions have always known this, and we've always used it. And in fact, when Jesus goes into the desert, before he accepts his calling, he does a fast. Let's not get technical about what actually happened there. It could get awkward for everybody. But anyway, he goes in, he fasts, and that's actually what Lent is. Lent is our 40 days where we, too, commit to a spiritual cleanse, if you will, which can be just as messy as the real thing. I'm just telling you. But there's an incredible sense of mental clarity when somebody fasts. And I highly recommend it. If you've never done it, I really, really do recommend it. And you're going to be like, Meg, you can't do that. Yeah, you can. It's a thing. And so if you decide to do it in the same way that the presiding bishop is calling us to do it, okay, first of all, fasts are a choice. Do not do this and be crying to everybody all day long, I'm fasting for Jesus, because you just undid all the work, okay? But what a fast looks like if you choose to do it in the way that we're talking about it, and we'll talk about other forms of fasting too. But if you decide to do an eating fast, it looks like this. When you get up in the morning, from sunrise to sunset, you don't consume food. So what that looks like is that you would have to chew it, you don't eat it. Okay? I feel like I'm talking to my 5-year-old. If you don't put it in your mouth. No, not that either. Okay, so if you decide to do one, however, it is very, very important that you stay hydrated, and we'll talk about electrolytes and all that fun stuff. So, black coffee is a good one. Yeah, I'm not giving up coffee for Lent because I'm fasting for Jesus. But you have to stay super hydrated, and you want something with electrolytes too. So, but teas, something with electrolytes, because you have to stay super hydrated for this. Now, if you get that headache, because you're going to get a headache because it's going to happen, you want something with salt in it. That's usually, you could take a swig of pickle juice. That would totally work, actually. But if you decide to commit to this, you're going to stay super hydrated. And like I said, you're only going to do it one day a week. The presiding bishop has committed to Wednesdays, so if you decide to do it, Wednesday would be a good day. Because you don't want to do it on Friday, which is traditionally religious when you would do it on a Friday. But that's terrible because it's the last day of the week, and that's the day you want to go out to dinner. So don't. Been there, done that. Friday's a terrible day to choose. Go with Wednesday because you're busy at work anyway. and you won't notice. You'll just be like taking that coffee, and it'll be fine. Okay, so that is a technical fast. However, here's the deal. And heads up, if you have any sort of medical condition, especially if you're like pregnant or don't do it. It's a terrible idea. But fasting does not apply to food only, because the point of the fast is what again? What did I say the point of a fast is?
Spiritual cleansing.
Yes, spiritual cleansing, mental clarity, right? It causes this sense of clarity. And it does not require fasting from food to get that. It requires this sense of like intense thought and commitment, right? So that could be literally anything that's going to cause you to start to think more deeply and to seek more meaning in your life. That could be giving something up. That could be taking something on. One of the most powerful spiritual discipline ones that I've learned of was in my previous parish, there was a man who read the Psalms all the way through, every Lent. He did this. Now, we don't spend a whole lot of time with the Psalms. The Psalms are incredibly powerful because the Psalms take you from the highest highs of faith to the lowest lows of spirituality. And that's incredibly powerful because that's where you and I live. We live in this up and down with our spiritual faith. So that is an incredible one to take on, is to say, you know what, I'm going to read the Psalms. Every morning before he did anything, before he got out of bed, he read some of the Psalms. That's an incredible spiritual discipline. You will find amazing things there. So when I say these things, I say to you, we're seeking mental clarity. We're seeking to see God's face in the same way that these folks who have been traveling and hanging out with Jesus this entire time have not seen him. Not really, truly. They've been hanging out with him, and they're friends with him, and they're behind what he's up to, but they don't see him. They don't have that clear sense of who he is until this transfiguration. So when it comes to Lent, we've been doing this religion thing for a long time, right? Many of us were like, since we were born, like before we had a choice. If you're a boomer, you went through like the worst period of religion. That's why boomers don't go to church anymore. Like there's a legit reason, because church was so horrible for them. But how often do we truly live it? How often do we truly commit to this and to seek the mental clarity that comes from this commitment? So for Lent, I ask you to do that. It's only 40 days. And heads up, it's not all of it, too. You have loopholes. There are loopholes built in for you. You're welcome. Because not every Episcopalian knows that. It takes being raised in a Roman Catholic school for me to tell you where the loopholes are. You are welcome. So whatever it looks like for you, I ask you, commit. Commit to something that is going to cause that mental clarity for you. We all need it. Because here's what I promise you, and I promise you this will happen. When you commit to this, when you commit to a fast, when you commit to any of this stuff, you will see God's face. It will happen. I guarantee it. In the same way that I can promise you after you get a run of the stomach flu, that was a bad word to choose, wasn't it? That was not intentional. That just happened. You will find mental clarity at the end of it. You'll be like, oh man, I have never felt this good. The day after the stomach flu, it's amazing, right? It is. I mean, I'm not saying go out and get the stomach flu. I'm not saying that. But my point is, when we go through these things, we see what we have not been able to see. What has been there the whole time. Jesus has been with them the whole time. God has been with you and with me the whole time. It's us. We've been fuzzy. We've been distracted. We've had all this stuff built up distracting us. So this Lent, I ask you, I beg you, and I promise I will do it with you. Let's lose some of that stuff. Let's lose some of that stuff, because Easter morning, you and I, we're going to see God. And if we're really lucky, someday your priest will be able to.
We want you to know that you're welcome
Not
to
likely
join us
anytime
at 10 a.m. on Sundays.
but
Please be sure to hit
you tell your
subscribe to
friends,
receive
"My
our
priest is
sermons.
drunk."
We can't wait to meet you.
Please stand and say together the word.